What's up, deckheads? If you watched my recent October Humble Monthly Choice Bundle review, you know that out of the box, and even with typical tinkering methods, Persona 5 Strikers is completely unplayable on the Steam Deck. Well, thanks to a tip from a very helpful Reddit user and viewer of the channel, it may actually be playable. In this video, I'm going to explain how to apply the fix and potentially revise my final verdict on this month's bundle. If you find the video useful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future Deckhead content. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. Or, as a Persona 5 character may say, sa, hajimeyou. The key to getting Persona 5 Strikers to work on the Steam Deck is forcing a very specific Proton version in the game's compatibility settings. When first attempting to review the game for the bundle, I tried using Steam's default Proton version, Proton Experimental, and even the latest Proton GE version 9.15. None of these Proton versions can run the opening video, leaving the deck screen black and preventing the game from running. To get Persona 5 Strikers running on the deck, you want it to force to run specifically with Proton GE version 9.11. Obviously, in a version subsequent to 9.11, something broke it again. I did read somewhere in a Reddit post reports of 9.13 running the game, so if you want to try your luck, feel free to give it a go, but I can confirm that 9.11 works. Because the software I'm using to record the gameplay footage only runs in the Steam Deck's gaming mode, I can't show you how to install versions of Proton GE, but I can talk you through the process. In desktop mode, in the Discover app, install Proton Up Qt. Next, launch the app. In the app, you can then install the latest version of Proton GE, as well as select specific older versions from a list. Install 9.11, switch back to gaming mode, then under the game's property menu, open compatibility, and force the game to run using Proton GE 9.11. And bam, now the game runs. So now that the game finally launches on the deck, I'm going to review it to determine how well it plays and performs, and possibly even revise my verdict on the entire October Humble Monthly Choice Bundle. Persona 5 Strikers delivers an exciting mix of action-packed combat and JRPG elements. Developed with console controls in mind, the game handles beautifully on the deck, with responsive and intuitive controls. Whether you're battling enemies or navigating menus, everything feels smooth and polished. Performance-wise, the game runs flawlessly, locking in at 60 FPS on the default settings without any noticeable drops or stuttering. Battery life is decent, lasting around 2 hours, which is fairly standard for a game of this intensity. The story is engaging, even for those who, like me, have no prior knowledge of the original Persona 5. While familiarity with the original game might enhance the experience, it's not essential for following the plot. However, having said that, as is typical of a JRPG, the game has a lot of exposition and takes a very long time to get to the real gameplay loop. But once it does, my goodness, what a fun game to play. Gameplay is split into two major components: preparation, narrative progression, and character interaction in the real world, and dungeon exploring in the metaverse. In the metaverse, the player controls a party of up to 4 characters, which can be swapped out on the fly. The player takes control of one of the characters and engages in real-time battle, with the other party members being controlled by AI, but with the ability to tag out, switching active control to another party member, and when done with the right timing, also pulling off a powerful combo. But what is by far the most unique feature to the game is the game's stealth mechanics. From a narrative perspective, the characters are pulling off a sort of heist. Mechanically, this is very well integrated, with the ability to sneak up on enemies and initiate an ambush for a combat advantage, and dash between various vantage points and hidden locations. Most noteworthy is the inclusion of a security level which, when too high, locks out the replenishing treasure chests, and even kicks the party out of the metaverse when maxed out, requiring the player to start the section all over again and creating a somewhat roguelite experience to the game. However, the game is not without its flaws. As is typical to a JRPG, the player can only save at specific points in the gameplay. This in itself is not a problem, but long cinematics and uninterruptible sections often mean about 20 minutes of gameplay before your next chance to save, preventing you from reliably putting the game down whenever you want. This can be very frustrating, but the deck's sleep function does help alleviate this issue somewhat, arguably making it the best platform for the game. Ultimately, Persona 5 Strikers fits perfectly on the Steam Deck, with its stellar performance, great controls, and an enjoyable, if somewhat narrative-heavy gameplay loop. If you're a fan of JRPGs, or are looking for a solid action-packed experience on the go, it's definitely worth playing. And now that I've been able to review Persona 5 Strikers on the Steam Deck, it's time to revisit the final verdict for October's Humble Monthly Choice Bundle. If you watched the original video, you'll recall that with Remnant 2's stuttering framerate and Persona 5 Strikers' failure to launch, the bundle was hard to recommend for users planning on solely playing the games on the deck. Now that there's a known way to play Persona 5 Strikers, even with Remnant 2 in an unplayable state, yes, I do think the October Humble Monthly Choice Bundle is worth it for deck exclusive users. If you found this video useful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future Deckhead content. See you next time, Deckheads!